Hello, I'm in Module 3. The first activity we're doing in Module 3 is example problem 6. Understand through first and second modules, we had 5 example problems, so I'm just continuing to build on that number, okay? So as we transition into Module 3, we're talking about the if-then-else structure, and again, taking two paths. If you were going to drive, if you can drive, for example, and if you were going to drive to school, I'm sure there's probably one or two different routes you could probably take to school. Okay, and so that's two different paths so you can get to the final destination. Okay, so we're going to be writing programs that is going to be making a test and on your expression. In this example problem, there's going to be two different tests in the code aspects to process that. So I'm on Canvas right now. I give you a quick overview of what we're going to be discussing. I've given you an image of where you can find the example problem 6 in the web resource. Scrolling all the way down to the bottom, you will note that you're going to have to again do some screenshots. There will be a screenshot of the form, be a screenshot of the code, and then yes, there's going to be a flow chart that's going to have to go along with it that you'll have to write, maybe take a picture and insert that into the Word document. So I'm expecting one file to be turned in with several screenshots on the Word document, just like we had done in the prior to Module 1 and Module 2. So if I flip back to, ladies and gentlemen, or I go into Module 3 right now, we're having to go into the second 9 weeks, and then Module 3 is open. Okay, so if I scroll down, I actually see the assignment, notes on IFTHENELSE Control Structure, example problem 6. So I'm going to right click and open new, and that should open up. All right, so I'm not going to sit here and read these notes, but I talk about the flow chart first and the IFTHENELSE structure. Right here is the decision symbol. It indicates an expression when your programs have to evaluate maybe a variable and a number, or a variable and some sort of text, for example. Okay, there will be a true and false path. Then it'll come back to the connector and proceeding on. And a program can have many different if-then else structures when processing. What I can think about the most right now, if you guys playing some sort of app game or video game, where are you playing with another person, or are you playing with the computer? So that's going to draw upon the program providing different paths when it's running with you. Okay, so then we get into the expressions, and what you see here are the generic forms of expression that can be used when writing the if-then-else structure. Okay, and I'm not going to read them to you, but they're all I'm sure you've seen them in math. Okay, and with the meaning of them, and you can obviously have combined them where greater than or less than greater than or equal to. Okay, and which is commonly used. Okay, I get into an example of just two forms of a true and a false statement right here. Okay, 3 is greater than 2. That is a true statement. Okay, likewise, 3 is greater than 4 is a false statement. Okay, so that gives you an understanding that you can go either true or false. Okay, and so then I give you a generic information about the simple if-then-else structure, the code side. And the first line that you jump into with an if-then-else structure, you see the keywords if, in the back end is then. And so you have components there in the middle. You have a condition, which is also looked upon as a variable. You have an operator, and then you have a value. In this case, it's a number, but you can most certainly use text as well. Okay, so in this example problem, I start to present the code to you in the console application form. Okay, like we worked with module number 1, because I think that's robust and you can see the code a little better. You can look at the variables that are being used. We are not programming in console application for this example problem number 6, but I'm presenting you examples in the notes as part of the code in the console application. So you see an example 6A. Let me just talk about this first before I jump down to 6B. All right, 6A, ladies and gentlemen, you're coming up with a variable called profit, and you're trying to input if your candy made a profit. And so if you put any form of dollar amount, like, yeah, okay, I made $5 profit. Well, when you go through this test, it's taking a test where it's 5 greater than 0. Okay. And if that's the case, you would follow the true path, always the true path. The true path goes always right after the then line. Right after then, the true goes. And in this case, it would spit out that said we made money. If you typed in any number less than 0, or 0 is 0 greater than 0, that would be false. Okay, it's not equal to. It's equal, but it's not just greater to. So in this scenario, 0 is not greater than 0. So in this instance, then would jump to the end if and then would stop. Okay, so I then take a peek and I ask you guys please to allow me to indulge in this as well. You then see an example of using the false path in here. Okay, so in this 6B, for example, okay, just building this out a little bit, you see that the 6B with using a variable true. So during runtime, if you ask the question, are you in Mr. Proctor's class? Okay, you can then see answer equals yes. So if that's the case, if you type in YES during runtime, all right, you would have an output, you must be in Mr. Proctor's class, okay? All right, so basically, or you must be in program class. Basically, what we see here is if your answer is actually equal to yes, it would print that out. If you said no, then again, it would jump to the end if, okay? All right, so if I proceed on, I do talk about then bringing in the else, the other key word with the if then else that allows you to output a information in the false path. Okay, again, this first half did not present any else. Okay, both these 6A and 6B did not present any else. I'm not wanting you to program this. I'm just looking at it. If I teardrop now down and look at the else path, after what follows the else path will be the false condition. Okay, if and else always must have something in the true path. It does not have to have something in the false path. So please note that. So I'm going to be taking the same program, 6A above, and I'm just adding in the word else and then something in the false path. Okay, so example, same program. Okay, did we make a profit? If we had typed the number 0 here during runtime, 0 greater than 0 is not true, and so it then jumps to the else path, and then it would be outputting we did not make money. So now we have a program that will spit out something in a true path and spit out an answer it will give us some sort of answer in the false path, makes it a more efficient program. Okay, taking that same aspects above, dealing with text versus number. What we see here is adding else to this program that we were asking the questions. Are you in Mr. Proctor's class? Yes or no. So you're going to type in yes or no. So if your answer was no, okay, then this would not be equal to yes. It would jump to the else path and just makes a simple statement that says, thank goodness. I'm just trying to be a little funny with you guys, since you guys, trying to be a little humorous. Okay, it doesn't matter what your output could be. In this case, I said, thank goodness. Okay, so I'm now going to pause here for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and load up a Visual Basic program. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just like we did in Module 2, we're going to be creating a window application. Right. If you did not make a Module 3 folder and watch the overview, that is protocol. All right. So I'm going to do this again and show you this again real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, if I go to the the documents and I go into the programming area, you can see I have created a module 3 folder because I want all the files from this module 3 to be saved into the module 3 folder. So if I go back to a blank Visual Basic program, and I'm working this with you right now, ladies and gentlemen, and if I go ahead and do a new project with you guys, and I right click or I pull down the file menu and I say new project, right? You could probably see that my program is pointing not into the module 3 because this would be our first program that we're doing. Okay, you can see how the window form application is still selected perfectly. It's calling this module 1, but I'm going to rename it here shortly. But my focus before I do a rename is I can identify that my program right here is pointing to module 2. Okay, so I'm going to go browse, and by me clicking browse, I'm going to find that area to make sure I go to documents. I go inside my programming folder. I am now clicking on into module 3. I'm going select. So now my programs for this third module should continue to be saved in a new folder called module 3. Should make it easier for me to find it. And so protocol, you can just save this as example 6 because that's our example problem. I'm then hitting the OK button, the save button. All right, I'm back over here on the notes, and you can see at the top example problem 6, minor direction, that this is a simple program that will use if-then-else structure with 2 different buttons. So we're going to have 2 different if-then-else structure with 2 different buttons. You can see the buttons. I've called them the same, but I'll go through this a little bit. You can see I have an enter here and an enter here. So one is dealing with your name, and you have to enter the candy sale, like did you make money, like 5, 6, or okay. Test it again another time and type in 0, and you should get another output here. This is output. So understand that this is I'm using this as the property window and making minor directions. You can see this is the title of this example 6. I have 1 label, 2 label, 3 labels, text box, text box, text box, and this is what the name of those should be. And I'll point those out to you as well. This is the other one. Are you in Mr. Proctor's class? And you're going to have to type in yes or no during runtime, enter button. So I feel that you guys can go ahead and create this. This is going to be part of step 1 and 2 of this example problem. You're going to be putting these labels, these text boxes, these 2 enter buttons, and again, remember there should be a clear and exit, and you need to put your name on it. All right, and these are the property names simply that you're trying to address to change it, to make this form look like your form. So if I go back over to Visual Basic program real quick, ladies and gentlemen, by now I have a blank one open, but I actually have a finished product. So I'm going to jump over there right now. So with this finished product, and we're at a point in time that I feel you probably can do this by looking at the notes, and I'm going to probably can pause in video now before I proceed on with the third part, which is the code. But you can see here, you got the generic labels. They're increased in size. You got 4 text boxes, and again down here, my program, I have the clear and exit button down here, and you should be able to learn how to code those, and I'll help you if needed. And then where it says your name, you should have a blank label and have your first and last name present on here. So I'm now going to move on to the code aspects of this, but you need to be programming these controls and changing the property of these controls. For example, if I click on this first text box, it says, if I go all the way up to the name, it says TXT name. The next text box, TXT candy number. All that is reflected on the properties that you see right here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm now on the notes. I'm starting part 3 on this. I've given you a little snapshot of the code. Understand you don't see the flower box, but you need to implement the flower box into your code. You can see a link down here with where you can establish and copy the flower box over. But you only really see 3 private sub, and there should probably be more. There should be a private sub for the exit and private sub with the clear, and I'm not providing you with that, but I can most certainly run through that on the tail end of this video if it needed. And so I first talking about the form example sick load, and we may have not experienced this in our past problems, and you will see this moving forward with our ebook. And what we're trying to do is once this form loads up, we are wanting to clear out the LBL class, because currently right now it says label 4. So if I go over, ladies and gentlemen, to the built-in label 4, if I don't clear that out, it's going to open up as saying label 4. Now there's several ways you can code this, ladies and gentlemen. I can come down to the visible aspects of this and change visible to false. So when that loads up, it's always projecting a false value, but you would have to turn it back on the true if you wanted something to project there. We're wanting an output here that says some sort of statement based on what so this label 4 is an output. All right, so if I go back over to the notes, all right, so the purpose of this LBL class, which is label 4, that's what I renamed it as, I want it to be blanked out for runtime. As soon as a form loads up, I want it to be blanked out. So that's the first step I'm going to do with you guys. If I come up here and double click on this label 4 right here and open it up, all right, you can see form load, or excuse me, you can see if I double click on the form, let me try that again. If I double click on the form, you can see all you have to do is type in LBL text dot quote, quote. So you're trying to blank out that sets the stage where that output, there is no output yet. You're just making that label, the verbiage label, blank. All right, so if I go back to the notes, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to be dealing with the first button that I'm going to, that I think I thought you called BTN clear. And so if I go to the, if I go to the Visual Basic program and I double click on the first enter button right here, if I double click, you can see it loads up this private sub. And so this private sub, I'm giving you the code. There's an if statement dealing with the candy is greater than 0. You have a true path here. You have the else, and then you have the false path. So exactly what you're seeing in the code here, you basically are typing in, all right? And then the other button, which I think I called BTN class, what class are you in programming class? That's why I called it BTN class. It's different than the enter button, even though both of them on the program, even though both of them, even the code has what they both say enter, they can both say enter on the surface of the button, but the properties are a little bit different. So if I click on this enter button again, it's taking me down to the BTN class. So I feel you guys can be able to simply look at the code in the example problem, study it, and try to type it in as you see it. And if you get any red errors, please make those corrections as you're building. But you're having two different enter buttons that are making tests here. I mean, continue to build it like the direction says up to. I mean, I want you to program the clear and exit button as well. So once again, if I, flop back over to the button here that says clear and I double click, you should be able to see a BTN clear click control button. If I go back to the form and double click the exit button, you'll have a BTN exit button. So just understand, if I go back into the clear button, you have to identify what the text boxes are. I have two different text boxes: TXT sales, TXT class, and I want this LBL class to be programmed. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So if I type in TXT here, and I got to know what the control is again. And I think if I drop myself back over to the beginning, and it's called name, all right? And if I just go into TXT name dot text, and it should drop down here, text, telesense, text equals, and I'm just doing a quote, and two quotes together that are cleared out, all right? To confirm what the next text box is, I think that was called TXT candy sale. So if I type in TXT, we'll see this telesense start to load up here. All I have to do is click on and hit the tab, all right, dot tx, that's text, and again, tab, and I'm going to do an equal and a quote, quote, okay? The other, just to confirm with the other, this was my output, txt sales, so I'm going to go txt, and I see sales down here. I'm going to click on it and hit tab, and in the same philosophy, this is the text box, which I'm going to be equal to quote, quote, because I'm trying to clear out the control. The next one down here is txt class. So if I type in txt, I should be able to see class right there. Hit the tab button, dot text, all right? All right, so this is trying to tab over. I'm using the tab button, quote, quote, gives me those proper, and there's one more, that label, kind of like we did up above. And folks, I can simply copy this. I can come up here and highlight this LBL class, because that's the same label, and paste it down below. So I'm at a point when I hit that clear button, all these controls will be cleared out. Finally, the btn exit, what was it, me dot close, is a simple output for this to work, me dot close, and you can see the proper. So those are the two calls. Make sure the simple line for the exit. Make sure you have the flyer box up above. Copy and paste that in, and that flyer box once again should be nested right here. Right click, copy, and paste it in. All right, I'm now moving in a direction to review the flow chart. But once you get this program running, ladies and gentlemen, do a couple tests that will test out many of the different inputs. Type zero number, so give me a couple, at least one or two different screenshots of this program. Show me different type of outputs, input. So when you paste in the form in there, give me a couple forms. Okay, you can minimize it, and I expect this assignment to be 2-3 pages in length. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the last step of this is quickly creating a flow chart, or the flow charts for the two different buttons, the two different enter buttons. I've given you a visual what they are right here to help you out and create them. So this is my own handwriting. If I right click over this image right here and open it up, you can see it does become a little bit bigger in aspects. So we have a enter button, and I'm using the class button here with regards to just labeling what they are, enter and in class. So I have a little bit different things going on. Let me just elaborate with this. Okay, so read CS would be class sales. All right, and we come down here and we have CS is greater than 0. So we have a T for true or F for false path in terms of what direction of this program is going to take. So we're outputting either sales, we made money, or I just wrote down made $signs. On the false path, I had no $signs for it, like we did not make money. And then we have a connector, and then it's stopping. All right, so notice the structure here. It kind of imitates to the right, but I just modified it a little bit more. So I have a start. We're reading the class, like what class are you in? All right, or are you in Mr. Proctor's class, excuse me, and I have class equals a text, which is yes. Okay, so I'm using Y for yes or N for no. Okay, so I have the pass where I can either T or false for true or false, or Y or N for yes or no. Okay, look here, I'm in, if it's a yes, you're in a programming class. If no, I have the word thank goodness, we have the connector, and then we're stopping. So whatever way you want to do this, if you want to have two different flow charts, I created one turned the paper sideways and drew them side by side like each other. Is perfectly fine and is acceptable. If you have two different images over top of each other, that would be fine as well. So you should have a Word document that is then, if I come over the module, in the module 6, you should have a Word document that's called example problem 6. You should then be trying to convert that over to PDF file and upload that right here to Canvas.